and to just be able to find a way to do it. And just keep in mind that success might come in a different package, and usually it comes in something even better than you expected.
Welcome to episode number 29 of the 100 Successful Women, a Conversation to Inspire series. If this is the first time you're listening to my channel, my name is Vivian. I started this 100 Women series with the mission to inspire more women to get out of their comfort zone and see the possibilities in themselves. The women on this series has been through some challenges in life and overcome the hurdle to become who they are today. So I hope you will get some inspiration from this series. In today's episode, I am so grateful to have Michelle Steiner from Pennsylvania to join us, sharing with us her stories. Michelle is a writer, a blogger, and a photographer, as well as a para-educator. Despite her own challenges in learning, she has published many of her works on various platforms to inspire and educate others about learning these abilities. So I actually learned a new word from Michelle during our conversation together, which is dyscalculia, a type of learning disability. So if you were wondering what's dyscalculia as well, make sure you listen to our conversation coming up next. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So what time is it now at where you are?
It is almost 8 o'clock in the evening.
In the evening, and you are from, your location is in?
I am in the United States, and I live in Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's really nice. So thank you so much for saying yes to be part of this 100 Successful Women podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So, Michelle, I did read a little bit about you on your blog and on your social media. So one of the questions that I always ask on this 100 Successful Women guests is, I know that you are actually a video photographer, a blogger, an educator. So you have various roles that you're playing. So who is really Michelle Lee Steiner?
Well, I definitely am someone who loves all those things. I love to take pictures of flowers. I love to do that on my walks. I also love to read. That is one of my hobbies. And I love to help people, whether it's at my job when I work with my students, with helping them with their work, or it's writing on my blog. I love to do that. And my husband and I love to travel too. We like to go to botanical gardens and go to museums as well.
That's so lovely. And I know that when you make an introduction about yourself, you were saying that you have learning disability.
Yes.
So what type of learning disabilities are you?
Sure. I have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability, which just makes doing numbers very difficult for me. And I also have limited hand dexterity in both of my hands, so it can make unlocking things and handling objects very difficult. And I also have visual perception issues. But the interesting thing about that, it's in my brain, not in my eyes.
Wow, so dyscalculia, this actually an alien word to me. I haven't heard of this word before. So this is to do with maths?
Yes, it's to do with math. I struggle with just how numbers work, but it goes beyond just struggling in a math class. It's also it goes with other areas. I will frequently confuse my left from my right, and directional terms don't make a lot of sense to me. You can tell me north and south, and that just doesn't have a lot in my head that just really makes a lot of sense. And it also affects my hand coordination. So that's one of the things. And then some of the stuff with math too, as an adult, it can be difficult when I'm at the store. It's always a surprise whenever we get to the checkout of how much you're spending. As I know that is for everybody, but it's even more of a surprise for me. And that can make it tougher. Tipping somebody can make it hard as well. That sort of thing. Yeah. So and I'm not able to drive because of a lot of the issues with the visual perception. I'm not able to do that. And also just the dyscalculia, though, with confusing the right from the left, and just trying to coordinate all those steps together for driving can be really hard.
Wow, that's something that is yeah, I learned something new today. To be really honest, I am not a big fan of mathematics as well. So I didn't realize it's something that's called dyscalculia. So like different people like myself probably not a fan of mathematics, and I sometimes can't coordinate left and right as well, so I'm not sure whether I'm also dyscalculia. Now, Michelle, sometimes people who have learning disability might not be easily diagnosed or found out even. So when did you find out about your learning challenges?
I was very lucky. We found out that I had a learning disability when I was in kindergarten. And
Wow.
even during that time period, we had some legislation in our country that said that people with disabilities deserve to have an equal education, but it was still really new to diagnose somebody. And I was very lucky that they found that out when I was young, and they found out. Well, and at that time, they just diagnosed learning disabilities, more of an umbrella term. They didn't give a specific, and we didn't find out about the hand dexterity until I was an adult, though.
Wow. So it's the I think it must be to do with parents as well, because sometimes parents will take the extra steps to really go to do the checkup, and really, because sometimes like I say, probably this is not very common in children to have, especially during that time, right, when when we were younger. It's not something really common, and we are really lucky to have your parents, or is that your teachers who allowed
Yes.
you
Exactly. Yeah. My parents, they didn't give up on me. And I had some teachers that really noticed that. And I was able to get a lot of the interventions in early.
Wow, that's really lucky. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I really did learn something today. So with that, of your challenges and the things that is with the diagnosis or about you, what are some of the challenges along the way, like because you found out when you were in kindergarten and throughout, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Right. Well, when I was younger, I struggled academically and socially. I was also an only child for 13 years, so I didn't have a lot of other kids to interact with. So that was hard socially going in there. And then people seeing, oh, she's the one that goes to a learning support class. And she must not be, and my peers didn't think that I was very smart. So that socially, that was a challenge. And then academically, it was really hard for me. I remember I was really frustrated from a young age. It was hard. Of course, math was the cornerstone of everything that was difficult. But I can remember I would do dot-to-dot pages, and I would think, oh, I did a good job, and I would get it back and it wasn't correct. And I can remember I struggled to tie my shoes. I was a good reader. That was one thing I've always was good at, but I really struggled with reading comprehension. And that was some of the other difficulties that I had in the classroom. And one of the things, I had to repeat kindergarten that following year at a different school in our district. And I started to receive specialty services with having like the classes. I was in all learning support to begin with, except for the regular ed kindergarten class. And eventually it started to work where I could be in more regular ed classes for reading, science, and social studies. And we did more where I would go into learning support to have a test read to me or to have extended test time. And testing was really a challenge for me. We would study a lot and I just wouldn't do well on the test. So that was frustrating for me. Handwriting was a big issue. People couldn't understand what I was trying to say. I don't have neat handwriting, and some of that's the hand dexterity, and some of it's just the learning disability. Kind of all goes together. But when I finally learned how to type, that was really the best thing because people could understand what I was saying. As I got throughout school, it got a lot easier for me academically. I was in all regular ed classes except for math and for resource and was doing really well with that. Socially, it got a lot harder. When you're in elementary school, someone doesn't want to play with you on the playground or doesn't want to be your friend. But when you get up to the upper years, it becomes more, the peer groups were more defined, and I just didn't really feel like I fit in with any of them. So that was a real challenge for me.
So that was like when you were younger, when the kids playing together, and when you like in an adult. So you were saying that the challenges was more like in socialize with others. Is that right?
It's a teenager, yes. But what that encouraged me to do was I reached out to a group in my community that was teenagers from another school district, and it was an art group. And I was able to shed that reputation. I found some acceptance with them. And that encouraged me to reach out to even more groups in the community. I found a writing group with some adults that were just a few years older than I was when I was a teenager. And as it was just really great. And we still were friends 25 years later, and with some of them. So that helped me to be able to do that.
Wow. So at the time you were saying that for you to reach out or for you to get an idea to mingle with this group of friends, did you just do that naturally or someone inspired you to do that?
I did that naturally. For me, I knew that I needed to get a fresh start and be able to shed that reputation that I had for years. And I wanted to be around people that had the same interests that I did.
Okay, yeah. So for I was just like wondering because people who are with the challenges or people who is having the background who might be different from other kids, like it's not, even though kids who without this ability, they sometimes are shy, they sometimes are reserved, and they thought that they are different. And for you to get out of your shell and reach out, is that someone is because of your parents, or what do you reckon?
Was my parents, like they found one of the groups that I was involved with, my writing group. I remember my dad said, "Hey, you might want to do this. I heard about this place," and I went and I did. But the first one, I decided I wanted to do that more on my own. But I was shy when I was at school because of just sometimes the rejection that I experienced. I can remember in 5th grade, I got an award for the shyest girl. And
there is a reward for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they were giving out like different things about your personality that people voted on. And I've gotten for being the shyest. And it's not that I didn't want to talk with other people or get to know them. I just had a lot of experiences that were negative towards that. So I think, and I wondered, oh, well, what is wrong with me? So I tried fitting in with our group, people at school, and it was really hard. I mean, I even did activities I thought they like to do and I didn't like, and none of that really worked. But when I started to get acceptance from some other groups that were involved in positive things, that gave me a little bit of a boost when I went to school. And I thought, okay, now I know what it's like to be accepted. And that helped whenever things got difficult. Yeah,
so it's I think it's from what you were sharing, it's one message that I got is it's okay to realize that everyone is different. There are people who are going to accept us, and there are people who are not going to accept us, and that's okay. Is that right?
Exactly, because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to be your cup of tea. So I think it was just everybody's different, and there is a place for that. So yeah, definitely.
Wow, I love that. And this piece of like information is so important for girls nowadays, I would say, right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely, because it's hard sometimes. That can be hard to be in that relationship when you have girl drama and all that
Yes.
going around. I sometimes I see that with some of the students that I work with, and we just try to, yeah. So I'll have students will say, "Well, you don't know what that's like to not to have everybody hate you," and I'm like, "Well, no, I understand what that's like, and I get a chance to share with them."
Yeah, that's so true. And you are teaching like an educator. Is that in on the special education school or just a normal school?
I work in a public school. I'm a para educator. So I help assist the teacher in the classroom and the students. And I'll go into some regular ed classrooms where we have some kids that just need a little bit of extra help. And I help support them and the teacher. And I also work in some rooms where we have a learning support students to come in. Sometimes they have test read. Sometimes they need help with their homework. They all know not to have me help them with math. And the staff I work with is really great too. They understand what learning disabilities are, and they're like, it's okay. And they have me help out more with the reading and the English, and we just work as a team.
Wow. So what inspired you to become an educator?
I knew that I always wanted, there was a couple things I knew from the time I was young. I knew that I wanted to go to college, and I knew that I wanted to work with kids in some capacity. And I just wanted to go and make a difference and be able to help somebody else out.
Wow, that's such a great mission to make a difference to
Yeah.
people. Is that right?
Definitely. That is what I always wanted to do. And I find that so rewarding when I get that chance to go into work and I get that to help out a student, because I've been where they're at. Sometimes it's like here we are recording on myself. I hate my learning disability, or I hate the individual education plan we got to follow. And I have that chance to say, it's all right to have a disability, and it's okay to have that plan, because that's what it's designed to help. And I also love being able to go in and show them how to advocate for themselves as well.
Yeah, I love that. In one of my interview or conversation with the 100 Successful Women, there was a young girl who had autism. She has autism, and
Okay.
she's actually a young entrepreneur now. And I love her quotes was saying that our disability will never define our ability.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, yeah, there's so much more to that picture than just what you can't do. And I always find that it's more empowering for me to focus on the things I am good at and the things that I can do. And if I focus all my attention on what is difficult, then that definitely is something that can really bring me down. But if I focus on what I'm good at, then that just brings me back up.
That is so true. That's such an important reminder for everyone as well, right? It's
Yeah.
always good to focus on our strength instead of our weakness.
Yep, exactly. Because everybody has things that they're good at, and everybody has things that they struggle with as well.
Yeah. And I read one of your posts about the butterfly, the most recent one, and I really love that. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about that, the one with the wing?
Oh, definitely. Well, that is a post that is in progress where I'm working on about finding my wings, like with the butterfly, because I've always loved butterflies and that transformation that they go through. And I've realized that I've gone through a lot of transformation myself with how I view my learning disability.
I love that. I love that you were saying that the caterpillar, if you give the wing to a caterpillar, it's not going to be the butterfly.
Exactly. No, because a butterfly doesn't start out as this beautiful butterfly that we see flying in a garden, they start out as a caterpillar. And I got to see that transformation. Every year we get a butterfly kit, and we get that chance to see that growing from that, that little tiny that little tiny egg, and then it goes into the caterpillar, and then it gets its wings, and it's just an amazing transformation.
That's such a beautiful sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Michelle. So for you, what do you think, what do people misunderstand about you most?
Right. I think some of the things that people misunderstand is if I tell them I have a learning disability, because they can't see it, people will say, well, you don't look like you're disabled. That's a big one. And also when I say learning disability, they think that the term itself says I can't learn. And it's not that I can't learn. I just need a different way to learn and to be able to understand things.
So for people who are not familiar with this, like you say, people misunderstand about you for because they have no awareness, or they don't have a realization about this learning disability. So what can you tell these people?
Well, first of all, I always try to tell people when they say that you don't look like you're disabled, I say, well, certain disabilities we're able to see, some that we can't see. And I get to tell them too, well, yes, I do have a learning disability, but I am able to learn. I just need a different way to do it. And a lot of times people will even think, well, you must overcame that because you have your bachelor's degree or you've had this success. And I get that chance to say, well, yes, I've achieved a lot, but that doesn't mean that the disability has gone away.
Yeah, that's so important for people to be educated in around this, right? Because sometimes people just didn't understand, and it create a lot of sadness for the people, because then it's quite understandable that because they don't understand, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So what are some of the biggest some of the challenges that you're facing right now, Michelle?
Well, some of the challenges that we face is trying to, transportation is a big one, but I am because I can't drive and we do live in a small town, but I am able to, I have a wonderful support system. My husband is able to take me places. Family and friends can take me places. My husband takes me to work in the morning, and I have some wonderful coworkers that are willing to give me a ride home at the end of the day. And I'm also in a central location where I can walk to places too. And that's something that I'm able to do. The fine motor skills in my hands with the limited hand dexterity, that can be hard. I can't use a manual can opener, so I use an electric one, and I might struggle with unlocking doors, but I've learned some strategies to help me out. And math is also tough too. Budgeting can be really tough, knowing how much money I have, how much is going in, how much is going out. It can be hard with totaling things at the grocery store. And sometimes just processing information can be really difficult. Somebody might tell me something or ask me a question, and generally with a neurotypical person, if you ask them a question, they're processing an answer. But with somebody that has a learning disability, they have to go through the extra step of processing a question and then the answer. And sometimes it can be hard when people give me new directions, or I have a new place to go and I got to navigate it.
But it's like you got, when you say you got to navigate it, you're using just like the Google map or something like that?
What I end up doing is I will sometimes just go a little bit early, and then I can ask for directions, and then a lot of times I need to find out where things are on my own. And I just think, somebody will tell you go left or go right, and well, how you mix that up? So sometimes I'll go there and I'll see like something on the wall, or I'll see a sign and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's where I need to go. And sometimes we go there and it doesn't work out, but then I learn, okay, this is how we need to get around.
Yeah, so there's a way, right? There's always a way.
There is. There is. It might take a little longer and it might be something different and I might get lost a few times, but there is a way to do it.
Love that. It's such a like it's important that we understand from your point of view, and then it's good that you give me some perspective about what's your because learning disabilities or having different kind of learning disabilities as well, right? And for yours one probably is different from others, and it's good that today I learned this from you.
Right. I mean, there are different types of learning disabilities. Some disabilities can be involved with reading. Other ones can involve with language, processing how language is said. Other people might have problems with expressing things in writing, and that can make it hard as well. There are a lot of different learning disabilities and just different ways of thinking. And even someone that has one type of a learning disability, even if they share the same diagnosis, they're still going to experience it differently.
Wow. That's so it's like too many information for me to take in as well. I only learned about so I only thought that only dyslexia or that's the only one that is more common, I think, right?
Right. They are about as common. All of them are, the statistics are it's 1 in every 5 people have some kind of learning disability. And that's the same with dyscalculia. It's just that sometimes we're not as well aware of that type. And we just automatically think, oh, learning disability, dyslexia. And dyslexia definitely is real, and it's just as common.
Wow, that's such a great information that you just shared with me today. Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome.
I know that you are doing quite a few things as become a photographer, and you are writing blogs in different website as well. So I did see that you are writing for World Gathering and Independent, and there are a few of them. So are they all to do with disabilities, or they're different organizations?
Some of them are different. Some of them are literary places. Other ones are primarily for people that have disabilities. My first article I got published about having limited hand dexterity. I've had several published on the Mighty, and that's a lot of disability related articles. And then some such as Word Gathering, that is definitely one that's more of a literary element as well. I had a story published with them, but I also had a lot of photographs that have been featured in that magazine as well.
Wow. So when did you start doing that, or what makes you to start like photograph or writing?
Well, the writing has always been really healing for me. I can remember from the time I was really small, I loved to write. And it was the first thing I found out I was good at, because my dad found a story I wrote about a dinosaur and he goes, oh, this is pretty good. And that just boosted my self-esteem. And I just started writing from that point. And I can remember one of the writing groups I was at, I had a friend that said, you should really write about having a learning disability. And I said, oh, I don't know. That's really personal. I don't really want to go there. And I think I wrote some bad poetry and some other really cringeworthy things for a few years. But when I finally wrote that first story about having the limited hand dexterity, it was one of the most healing things that I've ever done. And it just encouraged me to keep on submitting things and to start writing. The photography, that also came later. That came a lot later in my life. I can remember I had a friend that would always say, you know, you can do art. You're really good at some of these things. And I would say, I can't do this. I can't draw. And I just had to find the right medium. And one of the things I started noticing was if I would go on a walk, I would take pictures of flowers and people would say, you bring out details that other people miss. And I thought that was really neat. And a lot of times I'll be in the car with my husband and he'll be driving and I'll say, did you see that? And he's like, no, I'm focused on the road. But I get that chance. And if it's someplace local, I can go back to that place and I can take a picture of a flower that I saw or something interesting and be able to share that with others.
That's such a blessing to show these beauties to others, which someone might have missed, like your husband, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So what's next for Michelle?
I would love to continue on with the blog and to be able to keep up with that. And I definitely would love to write some books, especially some children's books about dyscalculia, because there's not a whole lot on that. And I think that it's important that we get some kids to understand what that's like. And I'd like to write a book about my life and comparing it with another favorite of mine, which is butterflies.
Yeah, I love that, butterfly. And definitely, I think it's very important for you to share your knowledge around this, because prior to this, I have never learned about this word, dyscalculia. And I have no idea about that. And I thought it's quite normal for some kids who probably, they just don't like maths. They just don't like,
Yeah.
maths is so hard actually for me. And yeah, that's definitely one of the things that you should be like, educate others for that.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
Yeah. So, to get to who you are today, Michelle, is there one particular person that you would like to say thank you to?
I would like to say, well, I have a few. I can remember there was a student teacher when I was in school, and I knew I wanted to go to college, but I was afraid. And I had some staff that didn't think I could do it, but she was one of the first that encouraged me and said, you can go to college. And I don't remember what her name was, but she really had a big impact on my life. And I'd also like to just definitely say thank you to my parents. They were wonderful. They never gave up on me, and my husband and all my friends that have been supportive too.
Yeah, the support that you get is definitely very important, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I know that you overcome different challenges because it's definitely like a lot of hurdles that you have to jump, right?
Yes.
So this is the like 100 successful women. What will be your one piece of advice for other women out there?
I would encourage other women to know what they want and to just be able to find a way to do it. And just keep in mind that success might come in a different package, and usually it comes in something even better than you expected.
Well, I love that. It's just so true that it's come in packages. I love that. And I realize that there are a few guests that mentioned about these packages, and it's so true, right? And it's definitely things that remind us challenges or hurdles that we need to jump in our life. It's come in packages in order for us to be better.
Yes, I agreed.
Oh, love that. So yeah, thank you so much for your time with us, Michelle. And is there any particular question that you would like me to ask that I haven't asked?
I think we covered everything.
Now, thank you so much once again, Michelle. I really love your story, because I think it's going to inspire many people out there, and to show others that despite challenges, despite hurdles, that you say, once they know what they want, and they can go to where they are.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, where can people find you online, Michelle?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also find me at my blog, michellesmission.net.
michellemission.net. So I'll include the link later in the video a
Thank you.
bit later. So thank you so much once again, Michelle, for your time. And I'm looking forward to hear more about your stories in the future.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And see you next time, Michelle.
Bye-bye.